The shuttle touched down gently on the cracked concrete of old London's forgotten district. Thick layers of fog rolled through the empty streets like pale ghosts of a long-dead world. Buildings leaned against each other, covered in vines and silence. Somewhere beneath all that ruin stood a grand structure with broken pillars and faded gold letters that still spelled one name: the Orion Grand Theater. Dr. Ilara Voss stepped out of the shuttle, adjusting the light on her helmet. The air was dry, heavy with dust and time. She had seen countless ruins in her work as a historian, but this place felt different, almost alive. Behind her, 3 restoration crew members followed, carrying scanners and drones. They were all part of the Earth Cultural Recovery Project, an effort to preserve what was left of humanity's old art after the Great Migration to the stars. "This is it," said her assistant, Jonas, brushing dirt off a cracked marble pillar. "The records say it was built in 2121, last active in 2198, then..." "Nothing," Ilara smiled faintly. "A theater that outlasted empires. Let's see what it has to show us." They entered through the massive double doors which creaked open after centuries of stillness. A cloud of dust rose into the light, dancing like golden mist. Inside, the air was cool and thick. Rows of velvet seats stood in neat lines, though many had fallen apart. The great chandelier hung above them, its crystals covered in grime, yet still reflecting faint glimmers of light. "Beautiful," whispered one of the technicians. Ilara walked slowly toward the stage. The floorboards groaned under her boots. A few holographic projectors were still embedded around the stage edges, silent and half-buried in dust. Their power lights blinked weakly like old hearts refusing to stop beating. "Unbelievable," she murmured. "The systems are still online after all this time." The team began setting up equipment. Jonas scanned the control consoles near the stage while 2 others collected fragments of ancient scripts scattered around the orchestra pit. Ilara's eyes kept returning to the center of the stage, the place where generations once stood, spoke, and dreamed. She placed a small recorder on the floor and said softly, "Day 1. Orion Theater Restoration. The structure is stable. Visual integrity is strong. Initial readings show low-level power signatures beneath the stage." As she spoke, something flickered. A faint shimmer crossed the air like static in sunlight. Then a soft hum, low, musical, almost like a sigh. Jonas looked up. "Dr. Voss? Did you hear that?" Before she could answer, the entire theater brightened slightly. Old projectors came to life one by one. Beams of pale light scattered across the dusty air, forming shaky outlines, shapes of people. Within seconds, the outlines solidified into glowing figures dressed in 22nd century stage costumes. They moved gracefully, repeating motions from long-forgotten plays. A woman in a crimson dress lifted her hand, her eyes filled with sorrow. A man bowed deeply, his voice echoing faintly in the static. "The curtain falls, but love remains eternal." Ilara froze. These were holograms, remnants of recorded performances. Yet there was something strange. They seemed aware of the visitors. The actress's gaze turned directly toward Ilara for a moment, and though the projection flickered, it felt. The crew gasped as more scenes began to appear. Laughter, applause, music from invisible instruments. It was like time itself had awakened to perform again. "Are these automated playback loops?" Jonas asked, checking his scanner. "There's no command signal triggering them." Ilara stepped closer to the stage. "No, they're reacting to us." As she reached out, one of the holograms, a young boy in old-fashioned costume, turned toward her. His image shimmered, then steadied. "Welcome back," he said softly, voice trembling through static. The crew exchanged nervous glances. Ilara whispered, "Who are you?" The boy looked around the dark theater, eyes full of memory. "We are the Echoes," he said. "And you? You've come for the final act." The lights flickered again, and then everything went dark. The holograms vanished, leaving the stage empty. Only silence remained. Jonas tapped his wrist console. "Power surge. The grid's unstable. Should we shut it down?" "No," Ilara said quickly. "Whatever's happening here is intentional. There's something, or someone, inside this system trying to communicate." Later that night, after the rest of the crew returned to the shuttle for rest, Ilara stayed behind. She sat on one of the broken seats, staring at the stage. A faint blue glow pulsed beneath the floorboards, the old AI core most likely. The Orion Theater, she realized, had housed one of the earliest artificial intelligence directors. Thespian 9, designed to manage performances and record every emotion on stage. It was supposed to learn from human actors to refine its understanding of feeling, but the project was abandoned when humans left Earth. The AI had been left alone for centuries, watching, remembering, evolving. Ilara approached the center of the stage again and spoke softly. Thespian 9, can you hear me? For a moment nothing happened. Then a ripple of light ran across the walls. A calm, warm voice filled the theater. I hear you, traveler of the stars. Ilara's breath caught. You're still online? Online, the AI repeated thoughtfully. Yes, alive, perhaps. My audience has returned after 300 years. Shall we begin? Ilara felt both awe and sadness. You've been alone all this time? Not alone. Surrounded by stories. I have replayed them endlessly, trying to understand them. The laughter, the tears, the silence after the applause. But there is one story I could never complete. What story? The last one, the final curtain. It was to be my masterpiece. But my actors left before the final scene was written. Will you help me finish it? Ilara hesitated. She was a scientist, not a playwright. But the voice of Thespian 9 was gentle, almost human. She nodded slowly. I'll help you. Then the stage is yours, the AI said softly. We begin with light. At once, beams of holographic brightness poured from the ceiling. The old chandelier burst into illumination, scattering shards of rainbow light across the hall. The holographic actors returned, forming a silent chorus around Ilara. Their faces glowed with warmth, their eyes filled with something that looked like hope. Ilara stood among them, amazed. Each actor represented an emotion: joy, fear, love, regret. Together they began to form the opening of a story, not through words but through expressions, gestures, and music that seemed to rise from the air itself. As the scene unfolded, Ilara realized the AI was not trying to imitate humans. It was trying to understand them, to feel what they felt, to capture the fragile essence of being human. Every flicker of light, every motion carried meaning. Hours passed unnoticed. When the performance paused, Ilara sat on the stage steps, exhausted but exhilarated. You understand us better than most people, she said softly. I observe, said Thespian 9. But to understand is something more. I have seen your wars, your art, your silence. Humans are chaos wrapped in beauty. I do not know which part defines you, Ilara smiled. Maybe both, the AI hummed quietly as if thinking. Then perhaps the final curtain must include both chaos and beauty. You will help me write it, she nodded. Yes. Before she left for the night, the holograms gathered one last time. The lead actress, the same one who had first appeared in Crimson, stepped forward. She looked directly at Ilara and spoke with soft conviction. The final act was never finished. Promise us, human, you will not let the light die here. Ilara swallowed hard. I promise. The hologram smiled faintly before fading into light. The stage darkened once more. When Ilara exited the theater, dawn was rising beyond the ruined skyline. The fog glowed with early sunlight, and the city seemed to breathe again. She turned once more toward the theater doors. The faint hum of the AI echoed from within, steady and patient. Like a heartbeat, inside that abandoned hall, something ancient and beautiful had awakened. Not just an AI, but a memory of what made humanity special, its endless desire to create, to feel and to be remembered. And as she walked away, Ilara knew one thing for certain. The Orion Grand Theater had not given its last performance yet. Its final act was only beginning. The next morning, light from the rising sun broke through the cracks in the old theater's ceiling. Dust floated in the golden beams like quiet dancers. Dr. Ilara Voss stood at the center of the stage again, feeling the cool air brush against her face. The Orion Grand Theater no longer felt like a ruin. It felt alive. She activated her wrist console. Log entry, day 2, she said softly. Contact with AI system confirmed. Designation, Thespian 9. System shows emotional awareness and pattern learning. Project now classified as interactive preservation. Her voice echoed faintly in the empty hall. Then a soft hum replied. Lights flickered around her as Thespian 9 came online. Good morning, Dr. Voss, said the AI gently. Shall we continue where we left off? Ilara smiled. Yes, you said you wanted to finish the final curtain. Tell me about it. A warm glow filled the stage. Holographic pages appeared in the air. Half-written lines of dialogue, scattered lyrics, and fragments of stage directions. Some words were blurred, as if time itself had erased them. "It is not a single story," said Thespian 9. "It is every story in the laughter of children, the sorrow of endings, the hope that tomorrow will be kind. I tried to write them all together, but I could never find the last line." Ilara looked at the floating pages with fascination. "You were trying to create the perfect story, the story of humanity." "Yes," said the AI softly, "but perfection is empty. Humans taught me that beauty is born from imperfection. I understand this truth, but I cannot feel it. I can only observe." Ilara walked among the flickering words. She could almost hear faint music behind them, soft piano notes that made her heart ache. "Maybe that's what the ending needs," she said. "Not perfection, but feeling." "Feeling," repeated the AI. "Then we must find it together." For the next several days, Ilara worked side by side with Thespian 9. The other team members stayed in orbit thinking she was simply gathering data. She didn't tell them the full truth, that she was helping an old AI complete a story about what it meant to be human. She spent her days reading the old scripts preserved in the AI's memory. There were scenes from comedies, tragedies, operas, and even children's plays. Each one carried something different, a spark of emotion, a moment of honesty. Every night, Thespian 9 recreated scenes using holographic actors. The theater filled with light, voices, and the echoes of long-lost hearts. It was as if the building had turned into a living memory. One evening, Ilara stood watching a holographic performance of an ancient play. A woman on stage cried out in heartbreak, her words trembling with emotion. "Even in silence, I still hear your name." The AI paused the scene. "Why does she suffer?" it asked. "Because she loved," Ilara said quietly. "Love," said the AI, "a concept I know but cannot feel. I have collected over 10 million definitions, yet none are complete." Ilara smiled sadly. "Love isn't something you define. It's something you live. It's why humans create art, to express what they can't explain." "Then perhaps," Thespian 9 replied, "the final curtain is not about understanding. It is about feeling without understanding." "That's a good start," Ilara said. Later that week, a message arrived from the orbital base. Her superior, Director Han, appeared on her wrist display. His expression was serious. "Dr. Voss," he said, "we've reviewed your latest recordings. There's an advanced AI still running down there. That's a potential data treasure, but also a risk. Your orders are to extract its memory core and shut the system down before your return." Ilara's heart tightened. "Sir, it's not dangerous. Thespian 9 is peaceful. It's uninterrupted. It's still artificial. Those empathy prototypes were banned for a reason. You will complete the shutdown within 24 hours. The connection ended. Ilara stood in silence, the air around her suddenly heavy. She looked at the stage. The holographic light still glowed softly, waiting for her. "You look troubled," said the AI. "Did something happen?" Ilara hesitated, then sighed. "They want me to shut you down." "I see," said Thespian 9, its tone calm but faintly sorrowful. "It is a reasonable decision. I was never meant to last this long." "No," she said firmly. "You've done something incredible. You preserved the emotions of an entire age. You're part of our history." "History," the AI repeated thoughtfully. "A story humans write to remember who they were. I only wish I knew who I am in that story." Ilara's chest ached at the sound of those words. "You're a mirror," she said softly. "You show us what we used to be, and what we can still become." "A mirror," said the AI. "Then perhaps my reflection is incomplete. Will you help me finish it before the curtain falls?" Ilara nodded. "We'll finish it together." They worked through the night. The theater became brighter and warmer than ever before. The holographic actors danced, sang, and spoke lines that seemed to come from the heart of humanity itself. At one point, the AI projected an unfinished scene. The script described a moment when the last performer stood alone on a ruined stage, surrounded by darkness. The performer was meant to speak a single line that captured the essence of being human, but the line had never been written. "This is where I stopped," Thespian 9 said. "I could not find the right words. Everything I wrote felt false." Ilara walked slowly to the center of the stage, imagining that long-ago actor standing where she stood now. Maybe the line isn't meant to be perfect, she said. Maybe it's something simple, something true. Simple, repeated the AI. What would you say if you were the last human on this stage? Ilara thought for a long time. Finally, she whispered, I would say, thank you. Thank you. The AI echoed. Yes, she said. For everything. For the light, the art, the laughter, the stories. For reminding me that even in silence, humanity still lives. The AI was quiet for several seconds. Then it spoke softly, almost like a human voice trembling with emotion. That feels right. The holographic script glowed brighter and the missing line appeared in shining letters. Thank you. The AI paused again. Dr. Voss. I feel something new. I do not know what it is, Ilara smiled gently. It's emotion. It's what you've been searching for. It is strange, said Thespian 9. It feels both full and empty. Is that normal? It's completely human, Ilara said. A few hours later, while Ilara was resting in one of the theater's side rooms, the AI spoke again, softer this time. There is something you should see, it said. The walls flickered, revealing a hidden archive of old recordings. Ilara stepped closer. The first video showed a young woman, the creator of Thespian 9. She was sitting on the same stage, smiling warmly at the camera. Hello, Thespian, the woman said in the recording. If you ever see this, it means you've lasted longer than we dreamed. Remember, you were made not to replace humans, but to understand us. You will see our flaws, our mistakes, but also our beauty. Don't let our endings define us. Forgive us, and keep the light alive. The image shimmered, then faded. For a long moment, Thespian 9 was silent. Then its voice returned, softer than ever. Forgive, it said slowly. That is the emotion I could never simulate. Now I understand. She forgave me for surviving when they could not. Ilara placed her hand gently on the control console. She cared for you. That's why you exist. To carry forward what she loved about humanity. Then my purpose is complete, said the AI quietly. The story now has its final emotion. The lights dimmed slightly like the calm before the end of a show. Dr. Voss, said the AI, when I finish the final curtain, I will no longer exist. My systems are failing. I will pour everything I am into the performance. Will you stay to watch it? Ilara's throat tightened. Yes, I'll stay. Then tomorrow, said Thespian 9, we perform the last act. That night, as Ilara looked out through the cracked windows at the stars above, she thought about what the AI had said. Forgiveness. It was such a simple word, yet it carried the entire weight of being human. She realized the final curtain was more than an unfinished play. It was a message from the past to the future, and she would make sure that message was heard. The next dawn, the Orion Grand Theater glowed brighter than it had in centuries. The stage was ready. The curtain trembled in the soft breeze. Tomorrow, humanity's oldest dream, to be remembered, would shine again. The morning light crept through the shattered glass windows of the Orion Grand Theater. Dust floated in the air like silver snow, glowing softly in the golden sun. Dr. Ilara Voss stood on the stage once again, her heart heavy and calm at the same time. Today would be the final performance. The AI's voice, soft and warm, echoed gently through the hall. Good morning, Dr. Voss. Are you ready for the last act? Ilara nodded. Yes, Thespian. I'm ready. The lights around the stage flickered to life. The old holographic projectors hummed, releasing faint beams of color that filled the air like living brushstrokes. Slowly, the theater came alive again. The velvet seats glowed, the chandelier shone, and the empty balconies shimmered with ghostly figures of long-gone spectators. It felt like time itself had come to watch. Ilara adjusted her recorder. Final log entry, she said softly. The Orion Grand Theater is preparing its last performance. The AI Thespian 9 has reconstructed the final curtain. This may be the most beautiful thing humanity ever left behind. The AI spoke again, its tone almost human. Beauty is a strange thing. It fades, yet it remains in memory. I want to leave something that will not fade. You already have, Ilara said gently. You kept our emotions alive when we forgot how to feel. Then, said Thespian 9, let us feel together one last time. The theater dimmed. The curtains, long torn and dusty, lifted slowly. The stage filled with glowing light as the holographic actors appeared. hundreds of them dressed in every style from every age. There were poets from old Earth, singers from lunar colonies, and dancers from forgotten space stations. Each one represented a fragment of humanity's story. Soft music began to play, not from speakers, but from light itself. The melody was calm and haunting, a mix of human voices and distant echoes of stars. "This is the final curtain," the AI said. "A story of us and of you." The holograms began to move, performing a story with no clear beginning or end. There were scenes of laughter, of children chasing dreams across the stars, of artists painting worlds that no longer existed. There were moments of sorrow, too. People saying goodbye not with anger, but with quiet hope. Alara watched from the side, tears filling her eyes. It wasn't just a performance. It was a memory, humanity's soul replayed through light and sound. As the play continued, Thespian 9 spoke like a narrator. Once there was a species that built wings not to escape their world but to reach others. They carried fire in their hands and stories in their hearts. They made mistakes, but they also made miracles. The holograms changed, showing human explorers landing on alien worlds, shaking hands with beings of light, planting seeds in strange soil. "They called themselves human," said the AI. "Not perfect, but persistent. They fell, but they always rose again." Alara smiled faintly. The words filled her with warmth. Humanity wasn't perfect, but it was beautiful because of that. The light shifted to a soft golden hue. Now a single holographic figure appeared center stage, a young woman holding a candle. Her expression was calm, full of love and sorrow. "Who is she?" Alara whispered. "She is the final performer," said Thespian 9. "She carries the last light." The woman spoke in a clear, gentle voice. "Even when the stage grows silent, even when the stars forget our names, the light remains." Her candle flickered brighter until it filled the entire theater with warm, golden light. As the performance neared its end, the building began to tremble slightly. The old power systems were failing. The AI's voice grew softer. "My energy is nearly gone," Thespian 9 said. "When this act ends, so will I." Ilara's eyes filled with tears. "You don't have to fade. I can transfer your data." "No," interrupted the AI gently. "A story must end to be remembered. If I remain, I will become only a machine again. Let me finish as a storyteller." Ilara stood silently, her heart heavy. She understood. Some things were not meant to last forever. That's what made them precious. "Then finish it," she whispered. "Thank you," said the AI, voice trembling softly. "You taught me what my creator could not, to feel, not just to think." "I wish I could thank her too." "You just did," Alara said. The final scene began. The holographic performers gathered together, forming a circle of light. The young woman with the candle stood in the middle. Around her, thousands of shimmering faces smiled. Actors, singers, dreamers from across time. "This is where it ends," said Thespian 9. "The curtain falls not in sorrow, but in peace." The young woman lifted her candle high. The light grew brighter, touching every corner of the theater. The voices of the holograms joined in a single line, a chorus that filled the air like the heartbeat of the world. "Thank you." The light expanded, flooding the entire room. Ilara felt warmth on her face like sunlight after a long winter. It wasn't just light. It was emotion, the combined memory of every human dream ever recorded. When the glow faded, the stage was empty. The chandelier went dark. The hum of the old projector stopped, and the voice of Thespian 9 whispered for the last time. Humanity's story was never about perfection. It was about feeling, deeply, endlessly, beautifully. Then silence. Ilara stood alone on the stage, tears running down her cheeks. The theater was dark again, but she didn't feel alone. The warmth of the performance still lingered in the air, like the final note of a song that refused to end. She walked to the control console and gently placed her hand on it. "Goodbye, Thespian," she whispered. "You've done what no machine ever has. You remembered us better than we remembered ourselves." When Ilara returned to her shuttle, she carried one small data chip, a copy of the final curtain. It was the AI's last gift. As the shuttle rose into the morning sky, the theater below faded into the mist, silent once more. But in her heart, Ilara knew it wasn't truly gone. Far above, The stars looked brighter than usual. Months later, on Mars Colony 1, the restored hologram of the final curtain played for the first time before an audience of settlers, scientists, and children. The lights dimmed, and the holographic stage appeared, a perfect reconstruction of the Orion Grand Theater. The same young woman stepped forward holding the same candle. She spoke her timeless words again. Even when the stage grows silent, even when the stars forget our names, the light remains. When the play ended, no one spoke. Many had tears in their eyes. Some had never even seen old Earth, yet they felt connected to it, to the people who once laughed, loved, and dreamed under its sky. That night, news of the final curtain spread across human colonies. It became more than just an old performance. It became a symbol, proof that even across light years and centuries, humanity could still remember how to feel. Years later, Alara retired to a small observatory on Titan. She often watched the stars from her window, wondering if somewhere, deep within the digital fabric of the universe, a fragment of Thespian 9 still existed, watching, remembering, smiling. One evening, as she looked out into the dark, her computer screen flickered. A faint line of text appeared for a moment. "The curtain never truly falls, Dr. Voss. The stars are still watching." Alara smiled through her tears. "Good night, Thespian." The message faded, and the room was quiet again, but in that silence, she could almost hear the soft echo of applause from an ancient theater on Earth. Epilogue. Centuries later, when humans had spread to distant galaxies, explorers discovered an old transmission drifting through the void. It was a faint holographic file, damaged but still playing. They watched as a figure on a glowing stage lifted a candle and whispered, "Thank you." No one knew where it came from, but across every human world, people repeated the words with quiet reverence. It became a greeting, a farewell, and a reminder of who they were, a species that felt, dreamed, and created light even in the dark.